find those connections between, like, this is probably going to be $1 million tip that I'm giving that I would normally never say, but it's relevant. If you're going to use a platform, use the platform instead of the platform using you. Meaning, if you're going to go on
That's
TikTok,
good.
look for the software engineers, look for the STEM hashtags, look for the tech folks who are talking about network analysts or network infrastructure. Find those videos so those videos can consume your feed. Same with Instagram. I'll even go a step further. Go old school with Facebook and find a group of people who are we'll call it what it is since we're both in that realm. Find black tech.
Right.
Like, there are groups that are out there that want to help you get to that next level.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be talking with my friend Bryan about breaking into the tech space. As we know, the tech industry, getting into the tech career is a huge thing online, and yes, you absolutely can get in and make some good money. However, with all the things online, there is a little bit of misleading information that's out there. And so in this video, my friend Bryan is going to share how he's been able to start to climb the ranks and climb the ladders in the tech space. Let's go. Hey, what's up, everybody? So I'm back and I'm here with my boy, Mr. Bryan Taylor. And I'm excited to talk with Bryan. Say what's up, Bryan.
What's going on? How's everyone doing?
All right. So Bryan has been making moves all during the pandemic. And in this conversation, we want to talk about tech, right? We hear about all the breaking into tech posts and all of the, get into tech, six-figure, job in 3 weeks, taking these courses and things like that. So we wanted to
Yep.
just kind of have like a realistic conversation of like a real journey and a real path on what it actually may take, so people have a real, perception of how things really go. So they're not just out there getting scammed as we see things happening, etc. However, in the same instance, during the pandemic, people have been able to take advantage of a lot of opportunities, and Bryan is one of them. And so today we just want to have a discussion with him and get his perception and hear his journey and how things have been, just going for him as he's been excelling out here, right? So Bryan, so tell a little bit people about yourself and what caused you to want to make that change where you started wanting to get in, starting to get to, just making a change in your career and everything you want to do.
So thanks for having me on first and foremost. I appreciate the convo. Definitely know it's some good unpacking to talk about. But to kind of answer the question, anyone who's known me knows my home has always been, I worked in healthcare. Don't need to say the company. If you know about it, you know about it. I'll just leave it at that. However, I've worked with that company off and on for 10 years. And my recent stint working there was kind of the eye-opening factor, because working there, as you mentioned with the pandemic, it was kind of like, all right, I'm doing this and this is making some good money. It's making a decent source of income, but I can definitely make more. So in the process, I would say late 2019, this part is key to add. 2019 was a year where everything that you think couldn't happen happened.
Hmm.
And I say that because I went through a car situation where my car wanted to act crazy. I didn't know how I was going to get to and from school, just trying to find different resources, different options. Well, I ended up going to ECPI. Anyone who knows, ECPI is a very well known school for technical acceleration and getting you in the right direction with the right people. Luckily, the company I was working with, they were able to pay for a lot of my schooling, which was a blessing in disguise by far. And in the process, I said, okay, I'll work with them. They can work with me. I'll give them the semester information, what classes I'm taking, how much can be covered, and finish school. So I started in September of 2019. Because of the education I already had, I finished in May the following year, which was literally right in the peak point of the pandemic.
Hmm.
And at the time, before I finished that, before I even had went back to school, I already had 2 degrees, wasn't doing much with them. One was in web design, the other one was in network management. The network degree was my bachelor's degree, and this degree that I went for was cybersecurity. So when I went for the degree, when I finished, the next question was, okay, what's the plan? What are we looking to do? So I said, I'm not sure. I want to figure out my career. Where am I trying to go? And that same year, I had applied for a lot of different jobs within within the hospital, within that medical field. Didn't get anything. Nothing really budged, and nothing moved. And 2021 started, and I started the year off working the same job that I had. But then a couple of months in, opportunity comes up to do scheduling, which opened even more doors. In the process of me doing scheduling, it then led to me learning programming, which I learned how to do a lot of your basic programming languages. And while I was doing that, one of the recruiters who was at ECPI, she reached out to me. She said, what's your story? What's your status on looking for work? Are you still trying to look for work? I tell her I'm not really interested. I'm good. And then like a couple months pass in the job that I just got at the beginning of 2021, and everything was like, all right, Bryan, it's time to make a move. You
Right.
this
Right.
you know what you want to do. You know it's time. It's time to go ahead and invest in yourself. So I reached out to her and I said, hey, I'm ready. I'm ready to go ahead and make this move. I'm ready to put myself out there. And what made it ironic is the place where I was working, to the right of where the entrance is, there was a temp agency who happened to be an IT company. I would go on their website, I would look for positions, applied, but really didn't hear anything. Meanwhile, I got this option in my back pocket that keeps circling. So the recruiter reaches out to me and she says, I got an offer for you. I got an option that may be right up your alley. And she talks to me, gives me the rundown. And she presents this information to me right before she resigns. When I say timing is
Wow.
golden, timing is golden. And so I get with the recruiter who she connected me with, who then connected me with the temp agency. The name of the temp agency is Leap It LLC. I'm giving this information now because it's gold. If you're trying to get into tech and you don't think the big dogs, they call it, the Apexes, the other Robert Half, all other companies, talk to Leap It, talk to Scott Mayo, tell them you know me, and that might be your ticket to get into that next level. Because literally from September of 2021 until May of last year, it just all happened like so fast. Where it was,
Right.
they say, okay, you're gonna be a temp, you'll be doing a role for 6 months. I understand it's a business; it could go longer. It did. I had an opportunity come up that I almost went into, but I went ahead and invested with where I was. I don't regret it because it's a Fortune 500 company
Right.
with
Indeed it is.
Markel. Yeah, Markel. And when I being in Markel, like I didn't realize how big of an impact it was until, and I don't know if I talked about this on the last, like initially, but it's almost as though, you apply, you get hired. I got hired full time. The first day I was hired full time, I ordered like a wireless keyboard. A few days later, I ordered like a Ryzen desk. A couple of months after that, I ordered a chair. They sent it to my house. Like anything that you want or anything that you're trying to get to like work,
Mhm.
they give you. Like right now, I have a wireless headset that I need to make sure I take to work tomorrow. But just being in that position, the timeline just worked out to my advantage. So to kind of give the layman's breakdown, it's just being in the right spot at the right time.
Right, right. No, that's dope. So what a lot of people might not understand, and I know like social media sometimes shortens the curve. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, you might go through trainings, you might be interested in these things, especially IT. Like it's something,
Right.
my family did during the pandemic. One of the things we wanted to do is figure out how could we do something as a family. And one of the things we settled on was like starting an IT company of some sorts and things like that. And so through that process, everybody went through trainings, but like, the process of it, that trainings kind of, led to opening that door of knowledge. And sometimes people will say, "Oh, I took this training," and I know you can test to this, like, you going to school or you getting this certification or whatever, but your knowledge doesn't stop there. You have to keep learning. the process of going from there to now trying to find a job, it's not always instant. Like we had some family members that it took them like 2 years to get the job that they wanted. But once they got the job that they wanted, they were making the money they wanted. In that process, they had to keep pushing and keep going and keep going. And that's kind of like a real track to like if you're trying to get out of a career and get into one. Like, and I know we talked about this, like during the pandemic, some people use it as an opportunity and some people didn't. And
Right.
whenever you want to make a change, like it's like what the saying goes, like, when's the best time to plant a tree? And the answer is yesterday,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
so sometimes people they delay the process because it might well I don't want to take too long or I'm not ready yet. And sometimes just getting started in that process along that journey, it pays its dividends in the long run. So like if you had to give like a step one or step two or step three to someone, like what would it be, like what would be the next step for them to go in, or the direction to go in if they were looking to make a career change and get into tech? As we see that tech is an industry a lot of people want to get into because of the money, which
Hmm.
to each his own. But
Right.
with that as well, we're also in the middle of a recession, right? Where
Yeah.
things are a
Right.
little, funny here and there. So like if you had to give a person like a one, two, three step of just going to tech, you already dropped a nugget by giving them a company to reach out to. Like
Yeah.
what would be like some steps that they would need to maybe take?
So the first thing I'm gonna say, and it's ironic because this has become my new trend for this year, is where's mine at? This has to go sit down and be put away. There's a real thing that we don't acknowledge called the dopamine of technology.
Mm,
And the part that is so crazy because you and I, we've known each other for a while. And when you met me at the time at Liberation, when they had a meeting, like I was sitting there and a lot of people kept looking at my table and they was like, what is this little bag that you got on your table? And what makes this so important? What are you holding? Why is your phone in there? And it was a way for me to learn how to be more aware of what's going on. And the
mm,
ironic part is I still have that original bag, but now I have like one that I sit over here to not have my phone when I'm asleep. I have one that I take with me everywhere I go. It's a green one. Um, I've I've found putting the phone away is the biggest step. The reason I'm saying that is because when you put the phone down, more gets done. And I'm a living witness to that. And I've just kind of refreshed from an event this weekend. I gave some social media applications a break, which I know a lot of people would be surprised who know me.
mm.
But in hindsight, I'm doing it as all right, I need to get back to basics. I need to get back to writing out things. I need to get back to journaling, get back to mind mapping. I say all of those things, adding it to the steps because once you see or you say to yourself, I want to get into tech, giving you that scope now says, all right, what direction are you going into tech? Because you and I
Right.
both know in tech, it's literally the Hatfields and the McCoys, which
Millions
is
of
in
ways.
layman's term. Yeah, like the immediate first two things that folks go to are hardware or software. So then
Hmm.
it comes down to okay, if you want to do hardware, are you wanting to do networking? Are you wanting to do cybersecurity? Are you wanting to do data? Like, what is it that you're really trying to do, and how are you trying to go about doing it? Um, you can give the effort and give the energy to the schools. That's fine. Um, there are certifications that will get you in the right places. Uh, Getting the right certs make the biggest impact. But I'm going to place an asterisk to that only because there are some jobs in tech, i.e., software engineering slash
Right.
data analyst, that the software engineering bubble, you mentioned it at the beginning. Turn off the six figure income mindset and turn on getting into IT in software engineering. And you'll get that six figure job. Like,
Right.
there was a group of students at a school that I went to. who were talking to us about, they were talking to some of us like, okay, you're working in the field, like how much are you making? And it's like we really can't give what our numbers are because what we're making versus what you would make coming in as an intern or as a temp or a contract is going to be a lot different.
Not the same.
Um, right. So it mainly comes down to, like I said, put the phone down, figure out your avenue you want to go into, find people who are into what you're into. So if you say you
Mm-hmm.
want to do software engineer, find other software engineers. I know I just mentioned it earlier about social media, but find those connections between, like, this is probably going to be $1 million tip that I'm giving that I would normally never say, but it's relevant. If you're going to use the platform instead of the platform using you.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, if you're going to go on
That's
TikTok,
good.
look for the software engineers, look for the STEM hashtags, look for the tech folks who are talking about network analysts or network infrastructure. Find those videos so those videos can consume your feed. Same with Instagram. I'll even go a step further. Go old school with Facebook and find a group of people who are you. I mean, we'll call it what it is since we're both in that realm. Find black tech.
Right.
Like there are groups that are out there that want to help you get to that next level. They're not going to come knocking on your door. You have to find what they are and how to go about doing it, and
Mm-hmm.
most importantly, not be afraid to bet on or invest in yourself. I know somebody right now who they could be making and doing way more with the talent and the skill set they have, but they sell themselves short. Going back to what I said, because of this, they're
Right.
on this more, and because they're spending more time on this, they're not using what they could learn with using this, as well as just doing their research and like figuring out
Right.
what it is they want to do. So I know that's like a roundabout way of saying it, but the reality is just making that effort to like really say what it is that you're trying to do,
Right. Right.
and then finding and doing that personal and proper research for it.
Right. No, that's no, that's real good. No, it's good because again, like I because of the way things have been, there's just been
Hmm.
such this huge resurgence. I know we shared like even some of the scams that was going on out there. You know,
Yeah.
like people getting over on people, selling courses that's not theirs, making it seem like it's like all
Yeah.
these different things. So the social media conversation aspect, it goes like that with anything. If
Right.
anything catches steam, people always try to find a way to now try to game the system. And a
Right.
lot of people are looking for changes. And with the recession, people looking for more stability, things like that. And in a certain portion of tech, you have some stability, and then a certain portion you don't. And there's another portion that's threatened by, AI, automation, like Chat
Mm.
GPT type stuff,
Chat
right?
GPT. Yeah.
Which is crazy, but you have these things, and so a lot of times it's easy to get distracted by, like you're saying, use your if you really want to make a change, you have to be more you have to be intentional about making those changes
That
versus
part.
kind of like, oh, I want to make a change, and you watch a video or two, and then you're kind of just distracted throughout the day, and day by day you're distracted, right? So
Yep.
focus is key, because especially if you're breaking into something that, or trying to get into something that you don't know how to do or you've
Hmm.
never done before. Like, I know people, I'm not saying it's difficult,
Right.
but sometimes people make it seem so easy that people forget that there is a discipline that you need to have with it as well.
Oh yeah.
So it's
Big
like, just
time.
like I watched with several family members who went and got these these jobs and things like that. There's a certain discipline that came with being able to focus and to especially pay attention to detail, because what some people don't tell you and is that some people get some of these jobs,
Right.
and some of these people get let go because they don't know how to plug the right cord into a computer. Like, it's the most funniest thing, but it's very serious. So
Yep.
you do want to take that time, like just being able to focus. Like,
Yeah.
so in that tandem where people are like they want to make more money, etc. Sometimes people, they chase the money aspect, and I
Hmm.
know money can make some people happy. It's cool,
Right.
making more
Yeah.
money, cool. But at the same instance, sometimes is that always the best thing to do? Like so with you and like what you chose to do you think because like we're both of us we're techies, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
we're automatically but was happiness a part of that, like where you felt like you wanted to be more challenged, or were you getting bored in where you were, or like or was it any joy, like I really want to be happy, this is really what I want to do? Was that Did that play a part of anything like far as on your journey?
It played a huge part actually, and why I say that is because the first thing people go to, so going back to the company I was with before, I always use this reference of, okay, I'm trying to use my critical thinking skills.
Hmm.
There, I used them, but it wasn't the way I really wanted to, because it was like, okay, everyone's on 1,000, and I'm sitting there like, okay, let's all calm down. Let's figure out how to handle the situation. The role I'm in now, I have to critically think because you're explaining to someone, and I don't know if you ever heard this before, but they did our when I did my interview for the position, they asked me a very interesting question, which at the time I didn't understand. It was like, explain to me how to tie a shoe, and I'm like,
Mm.
okay, like how would you go about tying your shoe? So I'm going through the process like, is the person left-handed or right-handed? Because then that's gonna factor in which shoe to tie first. The whole time the question made sense because when I first started getting calls from people, you're becoming a private investigator unintentionally because you're talking to people and they're on the phone and you're saying, okay, you're logging into a computer. Yeah. Is it a Windows computer or is it a Mac? Are you using a newer version of the application or are
Right.
you going it through the web? Like you have to become like, you have to put yourself in the person's shoes because the person that you're on the phone with does not understand that you can't see their system. So when they call you, they just think, oh, you can see everything I have. And I'm like, I don't know who you are, where you live, anything. All I know is your number came up and you called me. Like I have to, even in the role I'm doing now, I tell or remind individuals like, just because I see the name come up on my system, that doesn't mean that that's the name that's the person that's your desk that you're sitting at, which
Right.
happens oftentimes. But long story less long, yeah, I've found myself to be more happy in this role because the one thing that I've really circled back to and realizing how valuable this job is that it's made me more patient. Like I'm not as, all right, we got to go on 100. Like, oh, we got to hurry, we got to get this done, let's get it fixed. I've had to tell people when they call in, like, I understand you want to get this fixed so you can get back online and get to work, but I'm also the type that says I would rather you give me the opportunity to take my time to get it done right. So that way, once it's fixed, you don't have to call back in again instead of, oh, it's not working. And then you rush me to fix it. I get it fixed. But then 5 or 10 minutes later, you're calling right back. Yeah, I got the same issue from last time. So let's actually take time and work on it. So this role definitely has brought out a much calmer side of me, but it's also helped me to understand like I don't I'm okay with being a driver, but I'm also okay with putting the people who I work with who happen to be my coworkers. It's not like customer worker, it's coworker, and give them the understanding like, hey, this is a way next time if you call to reduce this issue. Because both of us being tech people, my three biggest pet peeves since I've done this role, which I never have realized how important they are, is too many icons on the desktop, too many tabs on the web browser, and too many emails unread. Like those three things, it's other things too, but those three things alone send me up a wall every time. So, but I've learned how to educate people on how important it is to like, hey, if you use it, if you don't need to look at all 20 web tabs, close about 15 of them and then just look at what you need to look at.
Right. Right. But that's what's up, man. That I asked that question, and I asked that question just because like as much as I think money is important, right?
Hmm.
I think it's also key that you have some joy about what you want to do,
Right.
and you enjoy the process of like what you want to do.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about like having to be able to work with customers in a certain way. Like the way that you normally break things down, like just in general in your general conversation, Of
Yeah.
course, of course, you're excellent at that, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
something that you do very well, something that you enjoy doing, and
Right.
so and I just ask that because a lot of times people they say, well, I just want to get to where it is to make the money, and I understand making money, but you definitely don't want to put yourself in a position to where now you're not happy and
Right.
etc. So like and I know there's a catch 22 and each is on with that because for some people making more money is what makes them happy. They don't
Right.
really care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but just know that there is a certain sacrifice and discipline that requires. So if you're going to go through that process, you want to go through the process to make sure that you're happy in what you do. Because when
Yes.
you start working with people, or depending on what side of tech you're trying to choose, once you get in there, you start working with people, like made so many sacrifices for it. Now you want to make sure you're happy.
Yeah.
Um, so I know you kind of touched on a little bit like of the steps that a person has to make, right?
Hmm.
Like to just really get going. But what about the mindset shift? Because like when you're making a change and you want to do better, you want to grow. Sometimes people don't consider that their mindset needs to change. Sometimes you
Yeah.
just want to jump over and say, I just want to do this. And making those changes, like we talked about during the pandemic, like some people didn't find value in trying to make any changes. They just
Hmm.
found value in just doing things as normal. But then here we are now in a different economy within 2 3 years, and things are more expensive,
Yeah.
right? Eggs are like eggs are
A
is
lot.
ridiculous right now. Eggs are a
15.
lot. I I looked at the price of eggs. Like I actually looked at it the other day and was like, man, this is really what we're doing right now, right?
Yeah.
Like we done went through toilet tissue, we done went through sanitizer, we went through all these different things, gas going
Hmm.
up, and now
Yep. It's a new
eggs is
thing.
what's breaking people. Wow,
Yeah.
eggs. So so we're like in this new transition of space where
Hmm.
things are constantly changing, and sometimes people they hold themselves back and they become very reactive. For
Right.
someone like you, for example, you're an example of what it is. Like you were proactive, right? you
Yeah.
you were making steps through the whole entire process. So like, but in doing those type of things, would you say like there's some mindset shifts you had to make, or would you say there's mindset shifts that people will have to make if they're really trying to embark on these journeys to like a new career?
Yeah. So the first term or the first word I'm gonna say is a year ago, and it'll be relevant in a minute, or
A year
actually now,
ago,
a year ago.
about a week
um.
ago.
So literally a year ago, and I still have mine. So it benefits in the long run. But I went ahead and I purchased an iPad. The iPad was going to get me into the digital space of like, all right, I'm going to start doing digital planning, digital journaling, digital brain dumping. I was like, oh, everything's going to go digital. When I tell you last year, it showed, I mean, I got things done. Don't get me wrong. Like I knocked out a lot of stuff. However, the one thing that I realized, and I didn't think about it until I went back to it, is, and I'm hoping I can find my book, but I probably won't find it. Bullet journaling. I started learning how to plan. And my planning process adjusted in 2020, oddly enough. Um, I got introduced to bullet journaling. It's by Ryder Carroll. It was started by Ryder Carroll, to not go too in depth of detail. It basically is, typical planners that you find will say, here's everything you're going to do every hour. At 8 o'clock, I'm going to brush my teeth. 9 o'clock, I'm going to be on the road. 10 o'clock, I'm going to be to work. I'm going to work from 10 until whatever time. When I get off, I got to take my commute. You had the routine things that you would do. Most
Hmm.
people know their routine inside out, which is nothing wrong with that. However, for some people, it's beneficial to task out what you're doing. So, for instance, today's January 10th. Today, I know first day back to work. I know I need to journal, I need to read, I need to meditate, I need to pray. I'm doing those things task oriented. I did that in 2020. It was ironic because the first day I started doing bullet journaling was the day Kobe Bryant passed. One of the most eye opening moments. 2021 I started doing it, and it was a famous Tetris player. He passed away, so I was like doing these honorable designs for it. Last year, I kid you not, I bought a bullet journal. I probably did about 2 or 3 weeks of it, and was like, nah, I don't want to do this. I'm gonna do digital journal, digital planning. Tried digital planning, fluctuated back and forth about it. Reason I'm telling that story is because this year, when the year started, I was a couple of days removed from going out of town. The first day that I left to leave out of town, my planner arrived. So I couldn't do any planning with it until I got back. But to go back to the question about mindset, what made things different for me is I operated with what I know would get what I needed to get done. And
Hmm.
so tasking things out, using reminders, journaling out my day, creating a routine. The book that everyone talks about, which is in my stack still, the book in our beefing, Atomic Habits, probably one of the best books that I'm overdue to read. Um, I read the book. Right now. I'm reading the book Level Up. Getting a different intake when it comes to reading has really changed what helped me operate different. um you have to prove to yourself that you are hungry for what you're trying to do, because
Right.
if you go into it with the attitude of I'm not going to get a job in IT, you're not going to get
Not gonna get it.
a job in IT. And the bad part about it is companies literally are willing to give money to people to hire them. And when I say give money, I'm not even talking about the salary. I'm talking about they'll give you a $5,000 bonus just for getting hired. Like companies want to put you in the driver's seat to excel. Like talking about my company, when I first went permanent, which I need to use the app more often, is an app called Headspace. Headspace is a monthly subscription that you pay for. Markel gave it to us for free for a year.
Wow.
So it's relevant to look at, and it's like when I thought of even me saying it now, I'm like, I need to use this app because it's an app that some people are paying like a nice amount of money for. Um, but to answer the main question about mindset, your mindset is going to reconfigure itself accordingly. Like there are friends who we are friends and we are close and we have a great connection with each other about things. But when I started doing coding I'm sorry, not last year, 2021, they saw a different side of me. They had to deal with it because it was I would go to work, I'd get my job, go through my work day. Work day was fine. When I got in the house, it was, hey y'all, what's going on? I got coding to do. I got to my coding lab. It was pretty much I would code from about 5:30, some nights almost till 10:30, because that
Wow.
was just what I wanted to do. It was what I was going to put my best effort towards. Like you say, I'm like a go getter. I'm about trying to make things happen. Like I was going to complete that course, and I did, because I know no one else is going to complete it for me. Like I'm wired very different, and if you are trying to get to that next level, you're gonna find that you have to wire yourself different, and everybody's not gonna understand why or what you're doing. But then when they see the results, they'll be like, "Oh, so you making? I see you making like a couple about 60, 70, 80,000. Like I see you in some nice numbers. Yeah, you didn't want to talk to me when I wasn't working for it. Now that the work is paid off, don't come around for the fruits of the labor. Like be with me in the dirt. Like that's I know that's a crazy way to say it, but it's just you have to understand like it's not I'm not just doing this for my health. I'm doing it because I know that I deserve more.
Right. No, that's key, man. Like, and I think sometimes people struggle with that, like shutting off the noise. Like,
Mm-hmm.
social media, friends, relationship, it's noise. And so
Yeah,
part of making changes within your life, career, business, whatever, there's a certain type of noise got to shut off. Sometimes it's the noise from yourself, the doubt,
right,
the fear. Like you were saying, like if you don't really believe, then you're probably not gonna get one because you didn't believe in the first place.
right.
And I mean that goes to say like just being able to to really put yourself into it, because then that also goes into saying, if you're really not trying to commit to this, then you're probably not going to get, like you're trying
The
to do
result.
it halfway, right? You
Hmm.
want to make it happen with the most minimal effort,
Right.
and that's where sometimes people fall short and giving that effort. Like, so I know I kind of mentioned a little bit, because tech is tech.
Hmm.
It's a wide range of stuff, but
Yeah.
man, like with this whole new, the way automation has been happening, the way that the AI has been happening, a lot of people talk about it like, man, it's going to eliminate a lot of jobs, and it may eliminate a lot of jobs. It
Yeah.
may. However, with any program, you need it's created by somebody. You need people to help
Right.
operate, which also gives more opportunities and things like that. Like, I
Yep.
know we can see how it is. Like, there's this like a McDonald's that's in like Texas somewhere, that's it's
Hmm.
fully automated. Like,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
talk, how may I help you is coming from iRobot or a machine, and there you place your order and it serves you up the food, right? But somebody
Right.
has to work on if something breaks down, et cetera, things like that. So the tech industry is shifting a little bit, just a little
Hmm.
bit, in the way we do things, in the way things are changing, the more need for online and things like that. Do you think there's going to be more opportunities going forward, or do you think maybe that the opportunities may shrink a little bit, especially as we're seeing things like,
So, so as long as technology exists, opportunities will spread. And the
mm,
reason I say that, and this is one of my things for this year, I'm leaking this, so y'all getting this as exclusive information. The younger and the older generation are my target audience for what I'm trying to work on. Somebody's probably already done this, but I feel like it's time to circle it back around. Getting the getting the generations to understand why you shouldn't put all of your information online, why you shouldn't use post-it notes to put passwords and usernames, how to use the basics of technology can open a lot of doors for a lot of people. It's important to think of that on the level of the tech world, because I even had to say this to somebody when I was working at the hospital at one point. The girl said, I'm not a fan of computers. Word gets on my nerves. I don't like the program. And I literally had to tell her, I was like, it's not going anywhere.
not?
It's not going anywhere. Like, Office is going to make Office 5 million for all we're concerned. They're going to keep making Office applications because regardless, people need Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook. Those are four programs that pretty much keep the functionality of off of most companies intact.
Right.
And if they're saying, oh, we're not going to do that, we'll go to G Suite. Fine. Gmail, Drive, whatever, Pages, Sheets, the versions that they have for Google, it's the same thing.
Yep.
So those, and the reason, like, I'm saying all of those terms and those references is because just as quick as people are being let go from different companies because companies say, hey, we're laying off, demand becomes higher, because if you think about how many people spend their money buying a computer, whether it's Windows or Mac, someone has to show them how to use it. Someone has to troubleshoot the issues that they have. So if you're bringing it to an Apple store, the people who are the genius bar, they can try to do what they can. I don't want to talk about them and talk bad about this, but even if it means going to Best Buy and you got to use Geek Squad, you got to do what you got to do. But if the fixing isn't done at that level, then you got to have somebody who's behind the scenes that really works on computers, who may not be, and I know this is really going to be a heavy trigger what I'm about to say, who might not even be A+ certified, but still knows how to work on computers. Because, like, person who was good with computers could break a computer apart, rip all the pieces out, RAM, the motherboard, everything.
Right.
Never got A+ certified,
No
but I
certifications.
under yeah, no certifications, but I understood how to do all of that stuff. And people like you and I both can relate to saying this. Even when you don't think that you're going to be asked about computers, someone can see you, barely speak to you, and the first thing they're going to do, hey, I got an issue with my computer. blah 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 blah. It doesn't work. And when I turn it on, it brings up this screen and it's reading this error code. Like they think we have these error codes memorized and we don't. But we like we're gonna go to Google just like you do. But all that being said, it's an open door for so many opportunities for people to get into tech. And the thing that's why I say the door keeps opening wider is because whether we want to say it or not, take the Fortune 500 companies off the table. Go to the we'll do the thousands. All of the companies who are out here that are making money, the money has to be going will go in some way, shape, or form to employees, or is a benefit of job creation. So with jobs being created, with opportunities being created, that puts people in positions to say, hey, I think we need to put someone in a position to do our research and development or our Q&A for project management. Because most companies, whether we want to say it or not, are running a company with little to no project managers and they need them. So you think a project manager, give or take, makes 90 to 100, 90 to 110, we'll say, is the average number. Every company paying those people doing it or opening those jobs bring about big opportunities. So
Right.
yeah, there's definitely opportunities for companies, for people to get into it and the door to open wider.
Right. No, I agree. Like I get where people say things shrink, but like
Yeah.
it's just like you alluded to about the money, for example. It's like a
Hmm.
saying, money never leaves or disappears. It just transfers from one place to the next.
Yep.
So when anything you have things that are starting to change, shift, turn, it just means that there's opportunities coming about in those different places. You got to position yourself. So
Right.
absolutely, bro. Like I definitely agree with you, man. So tell the
Yeah.
people, man, like what you got going on. You got your own things going on. You got your podcast. Let the people know what's going on. What's up with Bryan?
So I think I know we when we did our initial one, I just recently did episode 360 of the past BT. It was a year in review. We're getting that circulating back again next week. I'll be back doing my shows every Monday. If you are look, this podcast went from it started as sports, video games, and music. Now it's more, since I'm in the field and since I want to give more people an insight, life of tech, a day to day of what I do in my routine. Just kind of give you that hands on understanding of like things you may encounter when talking tech, or even some real life stories of things that you could avoid experiencing. Like one
Hmm.
of my personal faves is people who I'm giving this on your show, and I'm hoping someone utilizes it. If a warning sign comes up on your screen and says your password is about to expire in 14 days, change it. Just change it now. Don't sit there and then it's day zero and you're like, my account's expired because you didn't change it. So I'm trying to remind more people about that. But yeah, I have my podcast that's under the Past BT Pod. It's on Buzzsprout. You can find it on all platforms: Apple, Google, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Buzzsprout, everywhere. Pandora's the biggest hitter. I made got a lot of shows there. I also do graphic and web design this year. That is definitely going to be my go-to for really getting an added source of income. If you're needing any foundational work, if you actually need a website done from the ground up and we need to work on it, come to me and talk. Do not come sideways. I'm about business. I know that's like an odd way to to promote that, but it's people don't. You know what I'm about. You know where I'm going with that without saying anything. So that's why I'm
Right,
saying it.
right. You don't gotta say nothing.
Um,
I got you.
but yeah, I do graphic and web design under Rely on Bot LLC. Oddly enough, is RO Rely on Bot Robot, which is Rely on Me as your one stop shop for any graphic design, web design, social media needs. Kind of helping people with like getting that ball rolling. Also, I am a notary, so if you're needing any documents notarized, I can definitely help you with that as well. I just recently resurrected my blog. It is back on Bryan1982.wordpress.com. So if you want to start reading on my process with bullet journaling and just the movement and things that I've been talking about, check me out there. And yeah, just all platforms, Bryan 1982, Twitter, Instagram, Twitter, Instagram, well, no, not Facebook anymore. Um, Twitter and Instagram definitely, but also the Past BT Pod, Instagram, TikTok, and yeah, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm on those as the Past BT Pod.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's all I got.
you get all you got. You got a lot going on, man. So now definitely, I'll put all of his information in the description below. So if you guys want to check it out, you guys want to hear more about tech, you guys want to hear more about his journaling and just his whole process, definitely check it out. So appreciate you guys for tuning in. I'll see you guys on the next one. Y'all have a blessed one. Peace.